Hey everybody! So, I decided to try an experimental video. If it wasn't obvious by that big text on the screen, we're gonna be ranking every single game mode in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered on a tier list. And I mean every mode. Online and offline modes will be ranked separately, and cop side and racer side career modes will also be ranked separately. Sound simple enough? Don't bother answering, but it's great to hear. Before we get into it, I want to make this clear. This is only my opinion. If you like one that I ranked low, or if you don't like one that I gave a gold star, that's fine. In fact, I'd like to hear why in the comments. Maybe it'll help me open my mind a bit. But without any more bloat, let's get into it. Let's start with the tried and true, the classic offline race. Right off the bat, I can say that the AI opponents in this mode really don't pose that much of a threat if you drive well, even with their sometimes pretty noticeable rubber banding. So if you complete a really good run, it won't feel like they're even there once you slipstream your way past the AI racers in the first 20 seconds. And that's assuming they don't crash into the first traffic car they see, which is pretty funny to watch. Now, I say noticeable, but that's not always the case. On the game's longest races, even imperfect runs allow you to finish with all the other racers miles behind you. While it does feel easy if you don't hit anything, the AI can punish you if you slip up, which gives the impression that you're just barely holding on to first place if they're even in slight proximity to you. On a side note, I think it would have been really cool if they made the AI more aggressive if you hit them, as a common theme with the racer AI is that they're just a bit too passive in the racer side missions. Overall an alright mode, I'll give it C tier. Next up, we're gonna visit Race's online counterpart. It's a race, but without that annoying rubber banding your opponents get, and for that, it gets points. Getting to race against actual people who may or may not try to bash you off the road is a recipe for a great session. Most of the time. See, while I think that it's great that the opponents don't get rubber banding, it's instead replaced with a new problem: balancing. Anyone who plays online frequently can tell you that most lobbies will usually have at least one tryhard who just goes straight for whatever car is the most optimal. Now, listen, people who play optimally aren't something I necessarily have a problem with. It's just that I shouldn't have to watch a dozen videos on meta playstyles and vehicles in order to just have a decent experience. In most of the tiers, it's not too much of an issue. Performance Series, for example, has the Shelby GT500, I think, as the meta car, but cars like the Maserati Gran Turismo, Audi TT, Porsche Carrera, and even the Chevy Camaro and Quattroporte can keep up with a good driver. The same cannot be said for Super Series! That damn Mercedes-Benz SL65 has given me PTSD from how overpowered it is. No matter what you do, how hard you try, how well you drive, you cannot beat that thing, and you will never beat that thing. I avoid race lobbies in Super Series because of the SL65. That's how bad it is! But if you manage to find a lobby with no tryhards, and you find yourself a worthy opponent in your favorite car, well, that's an experience that is hard to match. Oh yeah, we gotta rank it. Uh, I'll give it B tier, as even with these qualms, I do think I have more fun with this as opposed to the offline race. Going back to career, we have duel. You know, at first it sounds kinda cool. Duel implies a one-on-one, so what did they do to spice it up? Is it like a boss battle? Did they include weapons? No, it's just a race, but with one opponent. That's it. That's all. Show's over. Go home. This mode really just screams padding. Why didn't they just group this with the regular race mode? There's absolutely no reason they couldn't have. They even did it with Hot Pursuit. It's not that this mode is objectively bad, it just makes you say, why? It's not even as exciting as the regular race because there's less opponents to deal with. It's like you just set out on a time trial and someone else came along to watch. I'll give it D tier because while it's not insufferable, it's just not nearly as exciting as the other race modes. Whoa, wait. Didn't we already do this one? Oh, that's right. We're talking about Arms Race. It's basically identical to the normal online race, but for one, every racer is loaded to capacity with weapons, and roadblocks and police helicopters are trying to stop you. And that is an absolutely immaculate recipe for chaotic fun. If there was a mode that I had to call underrated, it would be this one. I say underrated because 9 times out of 10, I can never find any open arms race lobbies. Like, I'll go into Find Game, and none of the series will ever turn up an open lobby. I try to create one myself, only to sit there for an eternity as players join and then leave seconds later, if even that. And even if, by some miracle, I find an arms race lobby with all 8 players, chances are at least half of them will have left by the end of the race because they waltzed into a single spike strip. I feel like this has the capacity to be one of my absolute favorite online modes, and it is, because the chaos you can cause with a bunch of other brawling racers around you is something I really wish I could do more of in this game. Arms Race's biggest problem, in my opinion, is that you only get the most out of it if the lobby is full. You go into Arms Race expecting chaos, but when you spike your only opponent and not have to deal with them for a third of the race or more, that starts to get a little boring. And if I had to guess, that may be part of what's contributing to the lack of Arms Race lobbies. But if you can find yourself a full lobby, I guarantee you're in for a hell of a ride. I'm gonna put Arms Race straight into A tier.
Central to all units, officers require assistance on Coral Bay Drive.
For our very first police side career mode, we have... Alright, Criterion. I can say we are very pleased with the prototype of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. However, we've noticed a major issue with it. What's wrong, a game-breaking bug? When have I ever come to you about bugs? No, I'm talking about the police side of the career mode. It's starved of unique modes. All you do as a cop is wreck street racers. Well, okay, but isn't that what the cops are meant to do? Sure, but giving the player 50 events where they get to choose between wrecking 1 racer versus 8 sounds like it would get repetitive after a while, don't you think? I guess so. Can you think of maybe just one more unique mode for the police that doesn't have to do with causing deadly 200-mile-an-hour crashes? I got it! What is it? What if we made time trials cause pain? I beg your pardon? And that's how I think Rapid Response was created. For those that need a refresher, Rapid Response is a time trial with one very painful addition. Every single collision incurs a time penalty. 2 seconds for walls, 3 seconds for traffic. It's not that bad trying them for the first time just to get the gold. As to balance this, they made the target times more lenient, I think, but when you're competing for a speed wall time, it's going to be a migraine-inducing experience when a traffic car jumps you from around a blind turn for the 100th time and it ruins your perfect run. That's not to say that this doesn't happen in the racer time trial, but minor bumps and scrapes mean very little in that mode, whereas in rapid response it costs you multiple full seconds no matter how minor it was. It also doesn't help that the cop cars are faster and therefore harder to control than the racer cars, so bumping into something is more likely. My apologies go to the SCPD, but this is going in Garbo tier. For our next entry, here it is, the namesake. We'll do all 3 variations of Hot Pursuit together, starting with Cop Side Career. Your task is to arrest multiple racers before they can finish their race. I get the feeling this is the mode that suffers and benefits from all of Need for Speed's weird quirks that we love this series for. There are so many different exploitable features that I'm not sure were intentional, and is it just me, or does this mode completely rule the others in terms of how hilariously spectacular the crashes are? I regularly fling racer cars far off the road, even seeing them get sent several feet into the air, whether they crash into a traffic car or my roadblock. The individual racers themselves are little more than cannon fodder. They can easily be taken out in only a few hits, even in the late game, and even when they're decked out with weapons, they usually just kinda throw things out and hope they land. The most brains they show is intentionally slowing down to EMP you. This does serve as a bit of substantial difficulty, since cops don't get jammers, so exhausting your spike strips, especially if you're in a place where it's hard to get them lined up, is asking to get wrecked. However, the racer AI isn't capable of doing hard swerves to avoid spike strips, so they typically waltz right into them. Oh, and speaking of spike strips, you can forget everything I said before about noticeable rubber banding, because this mode blows race out of the water. If you hit a racer with a spike strip, they will rubber band back so unbelievably hard that the AI won't have a chance to react to much of anything, including traffic, your car, other racers, walls, or, you guessed it, more spike strips. Now, look, I get it. They gave the racers so little health, so the player has a fair shot at taking out 8 other cars quickly. And I can't deny that getting an early bust because a racer crashed square on into your roadblock is very satisfying. But it begs another question. Why am I the only pursuit unit here? Why can't I have some AI cop buddies here with me? They get multiple pursuit units on the racer side, so why not here, where I can have some genuine friends and allies instead of just other people I'm competing with? If anything, it could have served as depth to the gameplay, where if you helped keep them alive, they could do substantial damage to the racers and help you out in return, and discourage you throwing things out mindlessly out of fear of hitting a teammate. It's such a missed opportunity, but I don't think what we got is anything bad. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't use this mode for destruction therapy. I'll give it B tier. Next up, we're looking at Hot Pursuit's direct counterpart on the racer side. Gonna be honest, this is probably my favorite career game mode. The way it starts you off like a normal race, but suddenly turns into a life or death battle when an Interceptor engages, it's absolute cinema, and that's just the beginning. While the cop AI falls victim to crashing into traffic constantly and having health bars that are only barely better than the cop side racer AI, the cop AI has noticeably more depth than the racer AI in cop side missions, even though it's still a bit misguided at times. They get behind you to EMP you, will stop dead at roadblocks thinking you'll crash into them, and try to directly ram you with their car. kind of like the racer AI in the cop career, but with a few more tricks up their sleeves. They will also make an effort to get directly in front of you to lay a spike strip, but multiple cops can do this at once, leading to the police spiking each other and giving you a free kill. Not to mention, there seems to be a common theme with these events when you become more skilled. If you drive a perfect run, you may not even have to deal with the cops much, if at all. Like, if I'm locked in and I drive absolutely perfectly in hot pursuits and especially gauntlets, more on that later, I've found that I can go most, if not all of the event without getting attacked by the cops. It isn't easy though, and any small slip-up can have the AI hot on your tail, and that can be a little punishing, which I do appreciate. But what really elevates this mode above all the other single-player modes for me is the other aspects of the cop AI. What I find most interesting about it is that they don't just go after you. They will happily target the AI racers who will just passively take all the rams and slams with no pushback. But if the police are after you, and if they do catch up to you, you can't just waste time fighting them, because the AI racers can take advantage of that and get past you. Not that the cops have that much health anyway, but still. This perfect blend of the destruction therapy from wrecking cops and the need to maintain high speed to beat the other racers is exactly what this game excels at the most, and that earns it a firm spot in the peak tier. And lastly, for the namesakes, there's Hot Pursuit Multiplayer. Okay, so this is going to be my hottest take. But I think that Hot Pursuit is the weakest online mode. My main gripe with online Hot Pursuit is that they left the racers so pathetically under-equipped that it takes an absolutely perfect playstyle to even have a hope of winning. I know I've praised previous modes for punishing sloppy playstyles, but at least over in single player, there's actually a chance you can recover, while here, no way in hell. While it still takes a competent cop team to win, the police have much higher room for error than the racers. So even if a cop accidentally crashes or misses an EMP or spike strip, they still have a much higher chance of coming back from it than if a racer did the same thing. Doing basically anything wrong as a racer can seal your fate. Miss your only spike strip? Now the cop's free to ram you to death. Crash even once? Busted in the crash cam. And if they give you only one EMP, that's almost worthless if the cop you're dealing with isn't already on mid to low health, hit or not. And not only do the cops have way more weapons than you, they also have a higher top speed, acceleration, and passively recharging nitrous. So if you want to EMP them, you better be ready for them to try to outrun it. Since you only get one jammer, that means that the cop who's equipped with 2 or 3 EMPs can send the power of Zeus through your entire car 1 to 2 times pretty safely, as long as they coast far enough behind you that they can avoid any spike strips you drop. And trying to dodge it is a pretty spotty method at best. Any competent player will easily anticipate this and copy your movements, let alone if other players are coming up behind you fast. It's not enough to wreck you, but it is enough to put you at a severely disadvantaged state that is unfairly hard to recover from. It doesn't just stop at the weapons. If the cops manage to get you to incredibly low speed, they can easily take cheap shots at you as you're screaming at your nitrous bar to just refill already so you can get back up to speed. It's genuinely so bad that a perfectly viable strategy as a racer is to just stop at the starting line and wait for your teammates to get busted, then take advantage of the hopefully fatigued cops to maybe secure a win. If I really have to do absolutely nothing for the first half of the round and throw my teammates under the bus just to squeeze out a win, I'll pass, because that doesn't sound remotely fun. If you don't want to do this, I managed to clutch a Hot Pursuit round once on stream by just tanking the single EMP the lone cop chasing me had, and waiting for said cop to get in close so I could spike them. But even though I landed both of my spike strips, I still finished on almost critical damage. If another cop joined in or I missed a single one of my spike strips, it would have been certain death. Even so, The racers are completely without advantage. Since the racers have to get to a destination to win, that means that the police are on a time limit, which may prompt some cops to get hasty with going in for ramming, giving the players a better chance to land their only spike strips. I know this may get me some hate, but I can't in good faith give this unbalanced mess anything higher than D tier.
Officer in pursuit of a red Alpha on East Gorge Freeway.
Confirm Central, closing in on the suspect. Wait! Suspect just pulled a 180, heading the other way. Request assistance.
Engaging Interceptor unit. Proceed with caution.
Finally, a cop mode where I can't take out the racer in a single hit. We're looking at Interceptor, the last cop side mode in career. Now, even though they gave the racer more health than in the Hot Pursuit missions, it still doesn't really feel like they made them too much of a threat, because they behave largely the same as the Hot Pursuit AI. They tend to just throw out jammers and spike strips, even when it would be totally futile to do so, the only difference being that they take random routes. Because of that, a good player can get through early game Interceptor missions in under 20 seconds, which I can only imagine is pretty humiliating for the racer involved. That said though, there is one key thing I do like about Interceptor, and that's the uniqueness of the missions. Let me explain. So, on the racer side, usually missions begin with a pretty samey cutscene of your cars speeding or pulling up to a starting line, and once the race begins, you'll be dealing with pretty much the exact same opponent or cop AI. But in Interceptor, they will often, though not always, have unique voice lines and cutscenes to set up the gimmicky racer AI. You'll have one that likes to make U-turns, another that will try to ram you, another one with turbos and spike strips that you need to slow down with roadblocks. See what I'm getting at? They've gone out of their way to make the different Interceptor missions unique and present a new challenge every time, and that's something I really like. Even if, like I said, the racers really aren't difficult at all once you know what they're up to, just the fact that they have these differences is enough to keep this mode interesting and save it from one of the low tiers. I'll give it C tier. You know the pattern by now, so let's take a look at online Interceptor. I've been playing Interceptor a lot more as of late after neglecting it for a while because I actually found that I really like it. The reason being that they fixed much of the balancing issues that I had with online Hot Pursuit. I feel like I don't get put in or can't find many Interceptor lobbies because the cap for a lobby is 2 players, and you can't set the mode to Interceptor if there are more than 2 people in the lobby at once. I gotta go way out of my way to find them or create one myself, which is a little annoying but not too big a deal. The loadout for both Cop and Racer is the same between every round, and the Cop is equipped with a whopping 4 EMPs, which would be intimidating if they didn't give the Racer 4 jammers, all of which recharge faster than the Cop's EMP, so the Cop spamming EMPs for a quick bust is virtually impossible. A once trigger-happy Cop is now going to be forced to think about if they want to try making the Racer waste their jammers for an EMP shot, or try to get up close, which risks them getting hit with a spike strip, so being hasty with ramming is extremely risky. It's not without its qualms though. That thing about crashing once as a racer meaning certain deaths still rings true. Also, I can't help but feel like the cars in Interceptor have way less health than in the other modes. I don't know, it may just be me, but I think they made the cars more fragile here. I guess it kinda makes sense here because it's just a one-on-one battle, but losing a big chunk of your health bar to what would have cost you less in another mode is a bit annoying. But these complaints aside, I think this mode is great fun, and I think it can secure a spot in A tier. Kinda forgot to put this earlier on the list, but let's get Time Trial out of the way. This is the only entry where I'm technically grouping 2 modes together, but unlike Duel, where there's just a difference in the amount of opponents, there is literally no difference between Preview and Time Trial. Absolutely none. But as for the mode itself, it's basically what you'd expect from a time trial. It's not a glamorous mode, but it's an important one to have, and great for trying out a new car or mastering one you're familiar with. I will say that I swear the developers cherry-picked the worst possible places to put traffic sometimes, but at least that's not totally random, so you can account for it if you memorize where they are. Other than that, though, you can't really go wrong with a mode like this as long as the time limits are reasonable, and they are, so I'll give it C tier. Let's wrap up our career modes with Gauntlet. So this might be a bit weird, but I don't really feel the same confusion towards Gauntlet opposed to Hot Pursuit as I do with Duel opposed to Race. Because while in Hot Pursuit you felt like you had some buddies, even though you're definitely not friends since you're competing, in Gauntlet you're all alone, so the only one the cops have to focus on is you. That can really make you feel like a target, because you can't take advantage of the cops being distracted to get ahead, and that's something I love. I do feel as though this mode is a bit inferior to Hot Pursuit, however. First thing is that you don't get to see the cops attack AI opponents, which is one of the most chaotic and cinematic things that you could see happen. It doesn't help that since you're the only one there, Criterion had the courtesy to spawn less cops, which, while it does ease the potential difficulty spike, hampers the whole feeling like prey thing because of the cops' pitiful health bars. Now, both of those issues are pretty minor, and I probably wouldn't put it below Hot Pursuit if only this was the case. But lastly, and most importantly, I don't know if it's just me, but in my experience, I found that it's even easier than Hot Pursuit to stay so far ahead of the cops that I don't even have to deal with them. It's probably because there's so much less going on around you, so there's much more wiggle room to just outrun the police. Even if I nick the edge of a roadblock or something, the police will be far enough behind me that they can't even do anything. And on the off chance that they do get close enough to lock an EMP because I clipped a roadblock too hard, a jammer or a spike strip can easily make anything they throw at me useless. They're just sitting back there like, "Hey, can you pull over, please? Please pull over, don't ignore me!" The only one I could find where the cops actually do pose a significant threat was in Tough Torque, since you don't get any jammers on that one, and it's hard to find good places for spike strips given how many sharp corners there are. That one stood out pretty well. Even still though, it's got that signature excitement that Hot Pursuit is so great at, and coupled with the other compliments I gave it earlier, I think Gauntlet is worthy of B tier. And to close out the rankings, let's visit online one last time to take a look at the one and only Most Wanted. I saved the best for last. Most Wanted is a strong contender for my favorite online mode in the game. Now, don't get me wrong, it's got its own issues, just like every other mode. It definitely does sometimes feel like the balance is swayed more in the racer's favor, which is admittedly a nice break from the cop-biased Hot Pursuit and Interceptor. The main thing that gives the racers their edge in this mode is in big part thanks to the glue and tape that holds this game's balance in check. Jammers. If a cop gets their weapon jammed, it's gonna be a long wait, because the cop's tech replenishes painfully slowly. One has to wonder the bureaucracy that the dispatcher's going through just to get these weapons approved for use. All the while, the supporting racers are free to absolutely pulverize you as your weapons are totally unresponsive. Now, I hate to bring up online Hot Pursuit again, but I find it hilarious that the one who is meant to be under-equipped has a loadout that's arguably not a whole lot worse than what the average Hot Pursuit racer gets. It doesn't just stop at the jammers though. The cop's speed advantage is hampered a bit, though not completely, by the supporting racer's arsenal of turbos. And if they get far enough away from the Most Wanted, their nitrous will refill faster and last a lot longer. It's like having an extra unofficial turbo. The supporting racers' weapons also recharge noticeably faster than the cops, still, albeit rather slowly, so if they miss their first spike strip or EMP, it won't be nearly as long before they can try again. And these are only the issues that arise with a full lobby. Remember how I said Arms Race kinda requires a full lobby to get the most out of it? Same thing applies here, only 10 times as much. Sometimes you may find yourself locked in a Most Wanted lobby with just one other person. If that happens, it will basically end up being a lot like Interceptor, but the lone racer is practically screwed before the round even starts. The cops are far from helpless though, as they're packing plenty of firepower too, as well as extra manpower over the assisting racers, which is a great help in offsetting how powerful the racer team is. You don't even have to just go straight for the Most Wanted, as it's perfectly viable to instead target assisting racers to allow your teammates a shot at the Most Wanted. And if the Most Wanted or a supporting racer uses their jammer because of another cop, it'll be a while before their jammer recharges, giving you an opportunity to EMP them. As a racer, you want to try to stay close to the Most Wanted and protect them at all costs, even if you need to tank some damage for them. The cops still have their pesky busing mechanics, so you still can't crash, but you have a much better shot at not doing that here since they gave you a proper weapon loadout. As the Most Wanted, you want to put as much distance between you and the cops as possible, so just go as fast as you can. And if a cop catches up alone, you've only got 2 shots at hitting them with a weapon, so make them count. I'm sure you understand what I'm getting at. Both sides have their unique strategies, and if you can find a lobby where both teams are competent, it can be some of the most fun you will ever have. Because of this, I'm going to put Most Wanted straight in the peak tier where it belongs. Wow, took half an hour, but that's all the rankings. Here's the final tier list, and some brief summaries of why I ranked them how I did. Do you agree with what I said or not? Again, let me know down in the comments, I'd be happy to chat. But remember to keep it civil and respectful. I'm a human with emotions too, and if your comment contains a personal attack on me, I will happily ignore you. But all that said, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.